Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Monday, the 12th of February, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at the dollar index, and the dollar is just flattening the last couple of days, but still bullish above the cloud on the short-term chart. Long and medium term, again, this is the dollar index, of course, still bearish. Euro dollar climbing a little bit this morning, but still bearish below the cloud on the short term, medium and long term looking good. Japanese yen, we see here dollar just weakening. So yen has been a beneficiary of the turmoil last week. It tends to be a safe haven for a flight to quality. So Japanese yen is just showing its strength there. Sterling up slightly this morning, and we're seeing still bearish below the cloud on the dollar. We've got downside targets to 136, 133, as much as 3% downside. And if we look against the euro, we're seeing we are still bearish below the cloud for sterling. Sterling rose last week on Bank of England comments, but just fell all the way back again. Key downside target here, if we see new lows below this 112 level, we will activate a downside target for sterling. Taking a look at the Swiss franc, we're seeing here sterling just weakening on that medium-term chart as well, and bearish short-term. So looks like sterling's run might be over for a little while. And against the Australian dollar, it's come back a little bit as well. Bitcoin was one of the best performing instruments last week, and we're just breaking to new highs again this morning. So looking quite solid. We're up 2.6%. I comment on Bitcoin quite a bit on my Twitter page, so just keep an eye out on Twitter. You'll see there. That's where I'm commenting on a lot of Bitcoin moves, and I'm just doing that by tweeting from the charts or from my desktop. It's a new feature within Updata. The S&P 500 index did recover quite strongly on Friday in the last hour of the session. The same with the Nasdaq. We see that showing through here on the chart. The last couple of hours we really just did recover quite strongly. We were lower at one stage and it was looking quite worrying, but we did pull back. We do have an activated downside target now of 11% on the medium term chart on the Nasdaq 100, and on the Dow similarly we have a downside target. So this target is there, it's hanging over us, but it does look like we might be finding support on the medium term cloud chart. So we've got work to do on the short term to get through the cloud, and we're seeing the same on the Russell 2000. It seems to be just the lagging line, just finding support there. If we look at the S&P future, we see that is recovering again. We're up 1%, over 1% this morning, so it does indicate a higher opening on the US market. Again, a downside target activated, so the picture is quite mixed after last week. And the Nasdaq E-mini up just under 1%, and not quite through the cloud on the short-term chart yet. So it'll be interesting to see. It looks like the market will open higher. It did that on Friday. Can it hold on to those gains? That's the key thing. FTSE 100 is still bearish below the cloud. It's up this morning quite sharply at 1.3%, but looks really dire and hitting new 12-month lows on Friday. The FTSE 250, much the same picture. The DAX is up 2% this morning, but still bearish below the cloud. And the Nikkei is just testing the cloud support at the moment, so that's quite key as well. Hang Seng Index is just sitting on the cloud as well from a cloud perspective. It's down very slightly overnight, so not showing true strength there. China, the Shanghai market was up slightly, or 0.75%, and the Sensex by a similar amount. But a lot of these charts still bearish in the short term. We need to see these short-term clouds where the price comes back above. Australian market looking quite bad as well, just coming back quite sharply on Friday and down a further 1/3% this morning. Brent crude oil is up this morning by 1.2%. It was down below $63 on Friday's close. We are still just holding on to the bullish trend on the medium term chart, but the short term is still bearish. And WTI was below $60 on Friday, got as low as 58 at one point. So that's a real reversal of fortunes, and the short term is still bearish. Just a shortage of downside targets there. There is one for Brent crude to $60.70, but otherwise there's not much to play for. If you're trading Brent, you might need to look at the 1 minute charts. Looking at WTI, we see, sorry, US Natgas, we're sinking lower. We've got downside targets to 251, 265, a further 2% downside. We're now at 257. So we are making 2-year lows on US Natgas at the moment. We're over 18-month lows. Copper looking strong, but still below the cloud in the short term. Heating oil the same. We're seeing coffee just heading a bit lower. Cocoa also doing the same. Cotton looking a little bit stronger, and sugar also just bullish above the cloud. So the softs generally still looking quite to have weathered the storm last week quite well. Wheat is up. Soybeans a really big jump there this morning, so they're up as well, and corn futures also up. Gold had a fairly turbulent week last week, but looks like we're just coming back through the cloud, putting us to short-term bullish. The medium and long-term charts are still bullish, with upside targets activated. We've got a target here now of 1343 on gold. It'll be interesting to see if we build targets along the way here, but still looking bullish medium and long term. Silver not so clear cut, has more downside potential on these medium and long term charts, but again just climbing into a bullish trend there. US 10-year yield sitting at 2.89% now, so we're just short of the 3% level, which we've got targets to. We've got 310 here. We've got clear sort of upside targets, and we activated this new one last week for 4.1%. So it does imply that US interest rates are going to keep climbing. Apple still bearish below the cloud, and the medium-term chart is still worrying on Apple. Google also just looking bearish in the short term. Amazon also looking bearish, and Facebook just also bearish short term, and Microsoft much the same thing. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.